So, the Star Wars franchise has finally returned with The Mandalorian and Grogu, which came out in theaters over the weekend. I wanted to go ahead because whenever I used to have my channel, I ranked all the Star Wars movies right after Rise of Skywalker came out. But this is the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, so might as well go in and rank it again, even though there's another Star Wars movie coming out next year called Starfighter, and I could easily just wait till then. I won't, because I haven't ranked these movies in a while, at least in video format, so I want to rank it again. So let's go ahead and rank and talk about all Star Wars movies. I am not including the animated Clone Wars film or any of the other kind of straight to TV kind of movies like Courage of like the Ewok movies or I think it was Caravan of Courage, I believe, or anything like that, because I just want to talk about the mainline theatrical live action movies. So let's go and start off with the bottom of this list, which is Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, and that is, it's fine. I mean, I rewatched this movie a couple months ago, which I hadn't seen in like 4 years, and as an ending to the sequel trilogy, it's not good. Like, genuinely, it's one of the worst endings to a trilogy I've ever seen. But as a standalone Star Wars movie, if you're gonna look at it from that perspective, it's fine. There's some good creature design here. Palpatine coming back is quite frankly stupid, and if this was a standalone or if this was the ending of a trilogy, so it's gonna be stupid no matter what. And what they do with Rey in this movie is very reactionary to The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi is a movie that I respect quite a bit because it went for some bold swings. This one, it's like we're just gonna just kind of not do that again because we had really bad returns last time. And I just see it as a very cowardly thing to do, especially in Star Wars lore. They were gonna make they were gonna make this movie with the director of Jurassic World, and his vision, while it was definitely odd, it would have fit more in line with what The Last Jedi was trying to do. As is, The Rise of Skywalker is just fine. I've always thought it was okay. It's just not that great. In 11th place is Star Wars Attack of the Clones, or Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. There's parts of this movie that genuinely just feels like George Lucas wanted to make a video game into live action. And that's what most of this feels like. But there is some good in this movie. I like the expansion of the lore with the clones and all that stuff and what they do with Jango Fett here. This movie solidified Obi-Wan as being my favorite Star Wars character. I love him. Him and Anakin's relationship is not very well. It the dynamic is just not very there. Honestly, they try so hard to make you care about these two and their relationship, but it just doesn't work. Introducing a new villain every movie is definitely bold for any trilogy, and that's what this movie does with introducing Count Dooku. And Count Dooku's fine. He's okay. What really sticks out this movie and why I feel like most people think of it fondly is the ending is very kid friendly in that it's a bunch of lightsabers fighting a bunch of people. And to a kid, you're gonna see that and think that's amazing, but as an adult, it's still fun. But it's it's just the CGI is not great. As is, I feel like this movie is fun whenever you're a kid and you're watching these movies for the first time, but the older you get, you're like, yeah, that's okay, but it's not really great or anything. So yeah, Attack of the Clones. I feel like there's some good stuff in it. It's just some of the acting can be just really bad, and a lot of this movie just doesn't hold up as well as I wanted. Next up is Solo, a Star Wars story, and this is fine. It is definitely, I rewatched it recently, and what I really enjoyed about this movie is just how into this war it feels because it takes place after Revenge of the Sith, right as soon as the Empire is starting to come back up. And so, yeah, no, it does a good job of that, and that does feel like an actual war in parts. It's just the movie's so damn dark, you fit visually. You can't see a damn thing half the time, and it's so brown and dark for some reason. When when I can see the sets and I can see the costumes and I can see what's going on in the story, oh yeah, this is definitely a fun film. It's just damn, it's dark. And I also don't really think the idea of giving every Star Wars character their backstory, especially Han Solo, a character that is a fan favorite, but his mystery about him was the most intriguing part of his character, and just giving him a backstory here is fine. It's just not great. And the heist aspects of this movie are definitely really enjoyable as well. It's just fun. It's a fun movie, but it's nothing more than that. Next up is the newest Star Wars film, and that is Star Wars: The Mandalorian, Grogu, and this movie is enjoyable as well. It's definitely on the same level for me as Solo, but for different reasons. But this movie, yeah, it does feel like an elongated episode of the TV show or multiple episodes stitched together, and that's not great, but it is nice seeing some characters from the old animated shows come into live action. That's really fun as always with Imbo and um Zeb. I fucking love Zeb, so seeing Zeb in a movie was really fun. And I really do enjoy these two characters that, like I said in my review, the TV show really helps you out with being fans of these characters. And while they're not in any real peril throughout most of the film, it's still like, yeah, I still care about them. I still like the Mandalorian and Grogu. What I would describe this movie like as like I've sat on it for a few days is kind of like watching one of the filler episodes of Clone Wars. But even the filler episodes in Clone Wars were a pretty good time, and this movie was a pretty good time in my opinion. There was a lot of fun aspects about it. I really enjoy what they did with the Empire here. Mando is kind of a beast in this movie. Like he doesn't get a lot of character development, but man, is he cool still. So yeah, I really enjoyed the Mandalorian and Grogu, even if it did feel like an elongated episode of the show. I still had a pretty good time with it. So after that is Return of the Jedi, and Return of the Jedi I've always thought to be a very really enjoyable movie, and it is a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy. You get the payoff on multiple things here, where Empire left it off with the Rebel Alliance kind of being more scattered. This one is like, okay, we're gonna take over your heroes, and we're gonna actually let them win this time around. And so that's really fun. And I really enjoyed the new character aspects they bring in here. They really give Boba Fett some more time to shine, but Boba Fett's not in the movie a lot for multiple reasons. Jabba the Hutt is a really good addition here, where you finally get to see him and his storyline paid off. You get to finally see the Emperor, and he's been a character we've been teased for so many movies now, and you get to finally see him on the big screen. You also get to see Luke Skywalker and Vader actually deal with the ramifications of Vader being Luke's father and how they can be more open now, and that's always been one of my favorite aspects about the movie is seeing so much secrecy in the beginning of the trilogy, but by the time we get to the third film and we know everything, we can actually kind of bathe in the fact that these characters are dealing with some very personal problems, and it really works here. And then Vader's redemption at the end is, of course, great. Bringing back Lando here was a lot of fun. Rescuing Han, while that scene goes on really, really long, it's still a fun little sequence. And yeah, there's a lot to love about this movie. It's just, it feels in line with Mandalorian and Grogu and Solo because it's just a fun space adventure, and it doesn't, while it does push the plot forward, does push the characters forward, this does feel, from the original trilogy, the most like a kid's movie. So, with all that being said, I do really enjoy Return of the Jedi. It's just, it's pretty good. It's pretty fun, but it's just not like amazing. Next up is Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace, and this movie has definitely gone better with age for me. I really enjoy just the beginning of any trilogy, really, and the beginning of this one is really enjoyable because, well, yes, there's so many terrible CGI moments throughout this movie and about the entire trilogy. But what makes this really stand out to me is just the personal aspect of it all, with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then Anakin being brought into the fold, and then trying to protect Anakin, and the Council not really thinking that Anakin can do this kind of thing. It's really fun to watch, and I really like that here. I mean, you got Samuel L. Jackson in this, and he's great as always. Yoda comes back here. I don't know, and then you get the villain side with Darth Maul, and you could see the beginning of the rumblings of the Empire and the Emperor and things like that, and that's really enjoyable to me. And while this is definitely the definition of a prequel movie, it's still kind of fun, and I do really enjoy these characters a lot, and I like seeing how certain characters begin. So with age, I feel like this movie has gone better for me. And while it's not like amazing or anything, it's definitely gotten better. Next up is the most controversial Star Wars movie, and that is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I did just rewatch this movie a couple weeks ago, and yeah, I still like it. I still think it's a pretty good time, and I still really like what they did here to where The Force Awakens kind of just plays it safe. This movie comes out and it's like, no, we're gonna just do exactly what people criticized us for doing last time, but the opposite, and that we're not gonna be just a remake of a previous Star Wars movie. Now we're not just going to make the characters feel very in line with what Star Wars has typically done. No, we're going to kind of challenge your ideas of what the Jedi are and what the Empire should be, or the First Order in this case, and how this Rey and Kylo's relationship really need to play out in this franchise. And you think it's going to go one way, but it's going to go another. And I really enjoy that part of the movie, but there's a lot of it to where it feels like, well, yes, it's cool getting your expectations subverted. There's a part of you that kind of wants to see things go right and wants to things and part of the fans' reason why they didn't like this movie was they had so many years to just contemplate The Force Awakens about what The Last Jedi was going to look like. By the time it came out and it was completely different from what they were expecting, they were like, this is not really my vibe, and I don't really like how much they feel like they're subverting expectations. So I feel like that's what makes this the most controversial Star Wars movie. I still think it's fun, there's still a lot of good aspects about it. They introduced some new lore stuff here too. My only issue with the movie mainly is just it's very long. It just doesn't really stop. But besides that, yeah, I do like The Last Jedi. It's not amazing, but it's still really good, and I do like how bold it is. Next up is Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Now, I will say the first little bit, the first like hour of this movie does feel very stagnant. And when I rewatched this, I was like, this does kind of feel like a Disney Plus show in a lot of ways. But the more and more this went on, I was like, okay, so we're actually liking these characters. There's some really fun characters here. And well, Jyn Erso is not like the most compelling protagonist. It's her backstory is what really makes her character work. And the rest of the characters here that you are pretty sure are going to be canon fodder are really good. And the moment they do die, you do feel for them really bad. Especially K2SO. I love K2SO. I always have since I first saw that dumb little droid. So I really enjoy his character. And also Cassian Andor and the Blind Jedi and all these people. They're great. But then the end of the movie happens. The very last, like, what, 10 minutes? And you realize, oh, this is straight up just a setup for A New Hope. And as a setup for A New Hope goes, this could have been a lot worse for one, and for two, that ending Darth Vader sequence is something that has stuck in my brain since I first saw this movie back in 2016. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. It's not perfect by any means, but man, after that first hour happens, that last like hour and 20 minutes, it really gets going, and it becomes one of the best Star Wars movies, in my opinion. Next up is Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens, and I remember to this day just how much I was looking forward to this movie. The hype for this was insane because I wasn't alive for the Phantom Menace hype, but God, being alive for the Force Awakens hype was insanity. I remember going opening night to see this movie in my little Kylo Ren outfit when I was 11 years old, and just being in awe of everything I was seeing because I'd never seen a Star Wars movie in theaters before. But as a movie, I always really enjoyed it, and I still really enjoy this one. Yes, it has a lot of beats similar to A New Hope, but you really get attached to these characters very quickly, and these are new characters that they do bring in the old ones in this movie, but they're not in it a lot. So you have a lot riding on these new characters, and it really works. To me, this is the definition of what a legacy sequel should be, because yes, there's some really bad pandering moments to A New Hope and other Star Wars movies, but the new stuff they bring here and the new characters really works, and it makes for a very enjoyable time at the movies. Yes, it's not perfect, but it is a damn good time, and I will always stand by that. And how it just feels very Star Wars. I can't explain it. I've always loved this film. Next up is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. And Revenge of the Sith is a damn good time. I remember desperately wanting to see this movie in theaters when it came out, but I was way too young, and then eventually watching the DVD, and it kind of traumatized me a little bit because, I mean, you watch the first two movies in the prequel solo trilogy, and it's like, this goes in a very different direction than what I was expecting. And it really works what they do with Vader in this movie and about Anakin's turn, because Anakin's turn kind of starts in Attack of the Clones, but it really kicks off in Revenge of the Sith. And once it kicks off, man, is it impactful and man, is it enjoyable. And it really makes sense for why Anakin does turn to the dark side, and it's tragic. And we've always wanted Vader's story to feel tragic, and that's what it does in this movie, and that's what makes it work so well. Also, the acting here is pretty good, and bringing in General Grievous, the third new villain in this trilogy, I mean, he's fun. I've always liked General Grievous as a character, and bringing the Emperor here. And the one thing I don't like, and what I didn't like about Attack of the Clones was Yoda fighting with a lightsaber. Here, they make it a little bit cooler. They do. They put some more spectacle in the film and in this moment, so it makes up for the fact that I don't think Yoda should be using a lightsaber. But besides that, yeah, no, this is great. This is a great movie, and I've always felt that way. In second place is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and this movie is just classic. This was the movie to start it all. This is the movie to come in and say, hey, Star Wars isn't the thing yet, but once it is, man, you're gonna love it, or at least your kids are gonna love it. And that we did, because this became one of the most successful franchises of all time. They had a hell of a task making this movie. So many things went wrong behind the scenes, and you can tell, but it's what makes this movie so endearing is that this is the start to a humongous franchise that has been going on since the 70s. but it had such an interesting production. And I don't know, it's always very fascinating to me with this film. But it's also it has to do a lot of legwork with this universe and setting up everything, and it does such a damn good job of setting up the universe because we don't know Luke Skywalker or Han Solo and anybody like that, and we really you would think like with how iconic these characters are, it's gonna be very easy to set this up. No, it's not. It really isn't. You have to really know what you're doing. And George Lucas, despite his flaws, really didn't know what he was doing with this movie, and he made for one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time. Yeah, Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope is still amazing. And in first place is Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back, or Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back. I've always been annoyed by George Lucas going retroactively and making every movie an episode title. I don't know. But I still love this movie. This movie's perfect. Like, genuinely, I rewatched it last year. And yeah, this is still a perfect Star Wars movie, or just a perfect movie in general. There is not a single flaw here, honestly. Everything about this works, and the build up to the ultimate biggest reveal in all of cinematic history at the end of the film is so well done, and it makes so much sense. But you also love the characters here. We introduce Lando Calrissian, and he becomes one of the fan favorites. And we also get introduced to Boba Fett here, and he's such an intriguing character. Then the TV show comes out and he sucks, but the movie itself, it does so good, and it just works so well. And the eventual reveal that Han and Leia were going to get together was great, and then Han inevitably being frozen in carbonite. And they make Vader genuinely scary in this movie because he wasn't really scary in the first one. This dude's terrifying in this movie. Like, I will stand by that. Yeah, no, The Empire Strikes Back is still a perfect movie. It's a perfect Star Wars movie, and it should be the gold standard to what these movies are held. Yes, some movies can be more fun than others, but this is the definition of a great Star Wars movie. That was my ranking for all 12 Star Wars live action films to hit theaters. Yes, there's also the TV shows. Yes, there's also the Clone Wars animated movie. I just wanted to talk about the live action ones. Maybe when I do an inevitable list, eventually ranking every single Star Wars thing ever, including the shows, and I'll talk about it then. But as for right now, what do you guys think about this ranking? What did you think about the Mandalorian and Grogu? Did you thought it was underrated, overrated? Like, did you have a good time with it like I did? Because I thought it was a pretty good time. So, that being said, I will see you guys next time and take care.